The chamber was vast, larger than any human hole ever built. Its walls shimmered with silver light, and strange symbols floated in the air like living fire. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the circle. They were the rulers of their empires, proud, powerful, and certain of their place at the top of the galaxy. Their voices clashed together, like storms colliding, as they debated what should be done about one small, fragile species, humanity. The aliens laughed as they spoke. Some described humans as nothing more than noisy animals. Others said they were weak, short-lived, and reckless. They dare resist us, one alien hissed, its skin glowing blue with anger. We gave them a chance to kneel, and now they bite at our hand. There must be punishment. There must be war. The chamber agreed. To the aliens, war was simple. War was conquest. They had crushed 100 worlds before, and humanity would simply be the next. But then, silence. From the far end of the chamber, a single figure stood. He was not tall compared to the towering aliens. He had no glowing skin, no horns, no wings. He was simply human. His uniform was dark, marked only by the flag of Earth. And yet, when he raised his head, the entire room seemed to still. His eyes held no fear. His voice, though quiet, carried across the chamber with a weight that even the alien translators could not weaken. "You want war?" the human asked. He spoke slowly, each word like a stone falling into still water. "Then understand what you are asking. You've not chosen war, you've chosen death." The words hit the chamber like a weapon. For a moment, the aliens said nothing. They did not understand. Death? Was this a threat? Was this madness? The silence stretched long and heavy, broken only by the hum of the strange lights above. One alien laughed, another hissed. Empty words, they said. Humans are children with sharp sticks. They believe themselves strong, but their bones are fragile. Their ships are toys compared to ours. They will learn fear. But still, the human did not move. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with something none of the aliens could name. Not anger, not madness. Something colder, deeper. Resolve. The aliens began to murmur. They tried to dismiss the human envoy's words, but the unease spread quietly through the chamber like smoke. Every empire there had faced rebellion before. Every empire had faced enemies before, but no enemy had ever spoken like this. Because humans were different. The alien leaders saw humans as weak because of their short lives, but the human envoy knew the truth. Short lives made humans dangerous. Every day mattered. Every breath counted. Humans built, created, fought, and dreamed with a fire that species with endless centuries could never understand. And now, all that fire was aimed at survival. The chamber lights flickered as if the walls themselves were listening. The human stepped forward, no guards, no army behind him, just one man. Yet in that moment he was heavier than a fleet of ships. "You believe war is conquest," he said. "You believe it is glory. For you, war is a game of fleets and planets. But for us, war is survival. And when we fight to survive, there is nothing in this galaxy more dangerous than humanity." The alien voices rose again, angry and loud, trying to cover the chill that ran through them. They shouted words like arrogance, madness, and foolishness. But none of them could forget the way the humans' words had cut into them, and none could deny the truth. Humanity had already survived what should have destroyed them: plagues, disasters, wars, and endless struggles against their own nature. And yet, they stood. Always, they stood. The chamber trembled under the weight of the moment. The alien council had come together to declare war against humanity. But now, for the first time, they began to wonder if war against humanity was something far worse. The human envoy turned. He did not bow. He did not plead. He simply walked away, leaving the chamber filled with voices that were no longer as sure, no longer as strong. His final words hung in the air like a shadow. "You want war, then you've chosen death." And with those words, the galaxy's greatest empires discovered something they had never truly believed before. Humans were not prey. Humans were not weak. Humans were a warning. The stars above Earth burned cold and distant, but the people below looked at them with new eyes. They knew the galaxy was watching. They knew war was coming. And yet, no one trembled. No one bent their head in fear. On the surface of the planet, in cities that glittered against the night, humans moved with quiet determination. Soldiers trained not because they enjoyed war, but because they understood survival. Engineers worked day and night, welding steel, programming machines, and building ships that still smelled of fire and iron. Families prepared too, not only with weapons, but with courage. Mothers whispered promises of strength to their children. Fathers told stories of survival. Old men and women remembered wars of the past and knew that this would be worse, far worse. Yet their voices did not shake. Across every continent, humanity was not breaking. Humanity was sharpening. In the dark halls of command centers, leaders studied alien fleets. Their numbers were vast. Their technology was terrifying. Against such strength, humanity looked small, fragile. But the leaders did not waste time fearing. They asked themselves only one question: how do we make them bleed? Because humans had learned something long ago. Victory was not always about size, or power, or numbers. Victory was about refusing to stop when everything told you to fall. Victory was about turning weakness into fire. And so humanity prepared. In the orbit above Earth, half-built starships drifted like wounded giants. Their hulls glowed with sparks as crews raced to complete them. Workers with tired eyes and scarred hands carried on without pause, knowing that every bolt they locked and every weapon they forged might be the difference between life and death. Pilot stood in the hangar of one of these ships, running her hand along the wing of her fighter. It was old, patched many times, but it was hers. She whispered to it as if the machine could hear, "One more fight, just one more." Her reflection in the glass showed not fear, but a steady fire. She had lost family in the first skirmishes, and now her grief had turned to something harder, something unbreakable. Down below, a group of young recruits gathered around a table. Maps and holograms lit their faces in blue light. They were barely adults, but their eyes burned with the weight of something greater. One of them said, "They think we're weak. They think this will be easy." His hand tightened into a fist. "Then let's show them what it means when humans fight with nothing left to lose." The others nodded. Their laughter was quiet, sharp, and full of defiance. Across the oceans, submarines waited like shadows beneath the waves. In mountain ranges, bunkers hummed with power as weapons were tested, hidden from the alien eyes above. In the skies, aircraft streaked through clouds, carrying soldiers who knew that some would never return. Yet not one of them hesitated. For the first time in history, humanity stood as one. Borders, politics, old rivalries, none of it mattered anymore. Only one truth mattered: survive or fall. But survival meant something different for humans than for others. Survival was not hiding. Survival was not surrender. Survival meant fighting with every tool, every trick, every ounce of fury until even death itself could not claim victory. The human envoy's words had reached Earth long before his ship returned. People heard them in whispers, in recordings, passed from one hand to another. "You want war, then you've chosen death." Children repeated the words like a chant. Soldiers carved them into their armor. Pilots painted them across the wings of their ships. They became more than words. They became a promise. Far away, in the dark between the stars, alien fleets gathered. They prepared for the easiest war of their long history. To them, humanity was nothing more than a noisy spark waiting to be crushed. But what they did not understand was that sparks spread. Sparks became fire. And once that fire burned, it would consume even the darkest night on Earth. The night before the coming storm, silence fell. Cities went dark as power was saved for the fleets. Families huddled together in quiet rooms, whispering hope. Soldiers sat alone with their weapons, cleaning them one last time. Leaders stared at maps that showed battles they might never win, yet not one soul gave in to despair, because deep inside every human heart, there was a memory. The memory of surviving against impossible odds. The memory of standing when no one believed they could. The memory of rising from ashes again and again. That memory now became their strength, and as the stars above grew brighter with the movement of alien ships closing in, humanity did not pray for mercy. They prayed only for the chance to fight. Envoy's voice echoed again in their minds, no longer just his words but the voice of an entire species. "You want war, then you've chosen death." The alien fleets moved like shadows across the stars, their ships so large they blotted out entire constellations. For them, war was routine. It was not a question of if they would win, only how quickly. To the alien commanders, humanity's defiance was almost amusing. Inside the command chamber of one flagship, the air shimmered with strange colors. Tall figures with glistening scales and golden eyes stood around a glowing star map. At its center, Earth was marked in red. A ripple of laughter spread through the room as they studied the tiny planet. "They call themselves survivors," one commander said, his voice like steel scraping on stone. "But what is survival against fleets like ours? Their ships are toys. Their weapons are sparks. This war will last a week at most." Another alien leaned forward, tapping a claw against the hologram. "Humans believe themselves brave. That belief will vanish the moment they see our armadas above their skies. Fear is a weapon stronger than any gun. The room filled with agreement. For them, humanity was not a threat. Humanity was entertainment. The idea of a fragile world resisting the most powerful empire in the galaxy was a story they told with smug grins and cruel amusement. But arrogance is a dangerous shield. Across their fleets, soldiers prepared not with caution, but with mockery. They painted symbols on their armor, claiming Earth as already conquered. They sang songs of victory before the first shot was even fired. In the marketplaces of alien worlds, traders sold trinkets of Earth as if it were already there. Flags, even models of human ships carved into toys. To them, the war was nothing more than a performance, and the outcome had been decided before the first battle began. Yet, not all were so certain. On the edge of the council, one alien ambassador spoke softly, his voice almost drowned by the laughter of others. These humans, there is something different in them. I have seen their history. They do not surrender easily. His warning was met with scorn. You speak of myths, another snapped. Yes, they survived wars on their own world, but those were battles of sticks and fire compared to our power. This is not survival, this is extermination. The ambassador fell silent, but in his eyes lingered unease. He had studied human wars, read their records. He had seen how they fought even when logic demanded surrender. He knew that humanity's weakness was also its strength, desperation, and desperation made enemies dangerous. But his warning was buried beneath the roar of alien pride. Soon the fleets were ordered into motion. Thousands of ships slipped through the void, engines glowing like suns. Each one carried weapons capable of burning cities into glass, of silencing entire civilizations in hours. And yet, not one commander thought of caution that as the fleets moved closer to Earth, alien broadcasts filled the void. Messages sent across human channels spoke with arrogance. Surrender now, the aliens declared. Kneel, and we will spare you. Resist, and your world will burn. They expected panic. They expected to hear human leaders beg for mercy. See chaos spread across Earth. But the replies were not what they hoped. The humans did not beg. They did not kneel. Instead, the aliens were met with silence heavier than any threat. Silence that felt like the calm before a storm. In their pride, the aliens mistook that silence for fear. They are already broken, one commander said. The fight will end before it begins. But far away, hidden deep within Earth's shadow, humanity was listening, humanity was watching, and humanity was waiting. The alien fleets drew nearer, and their arrogance grew with every passing moment. They boasted that humans had no chance. They declared the war already finished. They promised their soldiers an easy victory and their empires new lands to claim. They did not see what was coming because arrogance blinds even the sharpest eyes. And as the first alien fleet slipped into the orbit of Earth, their commanders expected fear. Instead, they were about to meet fire. For while the aliens laughed at the thought of crushing humanity, the humans were sharpening their claws in silence. The words of the envoy still echoed, a whisper carried across every human heart. You want war, then you've chosen death. And soon the aliens would learn the meaning of those words. The alien fleet entered Earth's orbit like a curtain of night falling across the sky. Their ships were massive, glowing with strange colors, their hulls carved with patterns that told stories of 1,000 conquered worlds. To the aliens, this was simply another mark to add to their record. They believed fear would be their greatest weapon, and that humanity would fall before the first strike. But the humans did not tremble. From the ground, people looked up at the dark shapes covering the stars. Their faces were lit by the glow of fire in the sky, yet their eyes held not despair but fire of their own. On city rooftops, soldiers stood with rifles pointed skyward. In command bunkers, leaders leaned over glowing maps of the heavens. In orbit, human ships waited small, fragile compared to the alien giants, yet bristling with determination. The first shot came without warning. A beam of searing light streaked from an alien warship, tearing through the atmosphere, striking an abandoned city. Buildings shattered into dust, the ground cracked open, and fire spread like a wave. The aliens expected screams, chaos, surrender, but instead, they were met with silence. Humanity did not broadcast panic. Humanity waited. Then came the reply. A cluster of human ships surged from the shadow of the moon, engines blazing. They looked tiny against the alien armada, but their attack was sharp, precise. Missiles streaked across space, striking the hulls of 2 alien cruisers. Explosions tore through metal that had never before been pierced by human weapons. For the first time, In centuries, the aliens felt shock. The human fleet did not fight with numbers. They fought with speed, with cunning. Every maneuver was a trap, every retreat a lure. Fighters swarmed like insects, darting between massive alien vessels, striking where defenses were weakest. Pilots screamed defiance into their radios, voices, carrying across the void, for Earth, for survival. On the ground, resistance began as well. Alien landing craft descended toward cities, but they were met by hidden batteries of human cannons. Fire erupted from forests, from mountains, from bunkers buried deep underground. Missiles streaked upward, cutting through the sky, turning alien transports into burning wreckage before they could even touch the soil. In one ruined city, alien soldiers marched through empty streets, expecting to find cowering civilians. Instead, the shadows came alive. Humans in battered armor struck from windows, from rooftops, from tunnels below the ground. Explosions echoed between broken walls as the aliens found themselves surrounded by enemies who refused to run. Every street became a battlefield. Every building became a trap. Every human fought as if their life was the last defense of Earth. Back in orbit, the battle grew fiercer. Alien ships unleashed storms of energy, each blast bright enough to blind the skies. Human ships burned one by one, but each loss carried a cost. A destroyer rammed straight into an alien dreadnought, tearing both vessels apart in a fireball that shook the heavens. A fighter squadron gave their lives to drag an alien cruiser into the range of Earth's hidden cannons. For every human ship destroyed, an alien vessel fell burning into the void. The aliens had expected weakness. Instead, they found fury. Their commanders shouted orders, demanding the humans be crushed quickly. But the chaos grew. The humans fought with a kind of madness. The aliens had never seen a madness born not of arrogance, but of survival. They did not retreat, even when outnumbered. They did not surrender, even when surrounded. They fought with teeth, with fire, with everything they had. On the ground, a young soldier fired his last bullet into the chest of an alien warrior, then picked up the alien's own weapon and kept fighting. In space, a pilot whose ship was burning steered straight into an alien carrier, using her own death as a final strike. Everywhere, humans fought not to win glory but to deny the enemy victory. The aliens began to feel something they had not felt in centuries. It was not respect, it was not even anger, it was fear. They had seen enemies before, but never enemies who fought this way. Never enemies who turned every loss into fuel, every wound into fire. The human envoy's words returned to their minds, haunting them. You want war, then you've chosen death. And in that moment, for the first time, the alien armada realized that those words were not empty. They were prophecy. The battle raged on, stars burning with fire, skies lit with storms of metal and light. And though humanity bled, though their ships fell and their cities burned, they did not break. Because humans were not fighting for conquest. They were not fighting for pride. They were fighting for survival. And survival made them unstoppable. The battle seemed endless. The skies above Earth glowed with fire, littered with wreckage that fell burning into the oceans and mountains below. Alien commanders believed their sheer numbers would break humanity soon. Yet with every passing hour, the war shifted. What began as defense was slowly becoming something else, something the aliens had never expected. On the third night, a human fleet hidden in the shadow of Saturn emerged. Their ships were patched, many half-finished, but everyone carried weapons that had been prepared in secret. Engines roared as they broke from hiding and cut through the void, straight into the rear of the alien armada. The strike was sudden, merciless. Missiles streaked like falling stars. Alien carriers burned, their hulls split open, crews spilling into the vacuum for the first time in centuries. The most powerful empire in the galaxy found its fleets caught in a trap. In orbit, chaos spread. Alien commanders shouted, but their formations collapsed. Human ships moved like wolves surrounding prey. They darted between massive cruisers, striking weak points, vanishing again into darkness. It was not strength that carried them, it was cunning, it was rage, it was survival sharpened into strategy. On Earth, resistance grew stronger. Entire cities that had seemed lost rose up in defiance. Civilians armed themselves with whatever they could find. Streets became ambushes. Bridges collapsed on enemy columns. In forests and deserts, human fighters struck like ghosts, then disappeared before the aliens could react. The aliens had expected a quick victory. Instead, they were being bled to death by 1,000 cuts. One alien commander stared at the burning wreckage of his fleet, disbelief in his golden eyes. "This is impossible," he whispered. "How can they stand against us?" But deep inside, He already knew the answer. Humans fought as no other species fought. They did not fear death the way others did. They turned death into a weapon. Above, in the command bridge of a battered human cruiser, a captain gave an order that would change the war. With his ship nearly destroyed, flames crawling along its hull, he locked its engines onto a collision course with a massive alien battleship. His crew saluted, their faces calm, their eyes bright with fire. Then they rammed straight into the enemy vessel. The explosion tore across space, shattering both ships into burning fragments. The shock of that sacrifice rippled through every human and every alien watching. It was not just destruction, it was a message. Humanity would fight with everything, even their own lives, until the galaxy itself understood their warning. More sacrifices followed. A squadron of fighters lured an alien dreadnought into Earth's gravity well, watching it spiral down until it broke apart in the atmosphere. On the ground, soldiers detonated bridges with themselves still on them, cutting off alien reinforcements. Each act of defiance carried a price, but each one carved fear deeper into alien hearts. The turning point came in the orbit above Earth. A hidden human weapon something whispered about but never confirmed awoke. From deep inside the planet's crust, silos opened, and weapons built in silence for years launched into the sky. Dozens of warheads streaked upward, guided by human hands that had sworn never to use them unless survival demanded it. When they detonated, alien ships vanished in storms of fire. Energy shields cracked. Armadas that had stood for centuries broke apart in seconds. The aliens had prepared for fleets, for armies, for strength they could measure. They had not prepared for desperation made into power. The galaxy watched as transmissions of the battle spread. Species who had once mocked humans now stared in awe and fear. They saw a small world standing against giants. They saw death turned into defiance, weakness turned into fire. They saw the envoy's words fulfilled. You want war, then you've chosen death. The aliens tried to retreat, but humanity did not allow it. They chased them through the void, striking from hidden bases, from asteroids, from every shadow of the solar system. Each retreat cost the aliens more ships, more lives, more pride. Slowly the balance shifted. Humanity was no longer defending, humanity was hunting. On Earth a soldier stood on a ruined rooftop watching burning ships fall from the sky. His body was broken, his rifle empty, but his voice rose into the night. We are still here. Others joined him. Thousands, millions, across the world. The cry spread. The war that was meant to crush humanity had instead revealed something terrifying to the galaxy. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the storm that rose when death itself came knocking. And the storm was only beginning. The war had spread far beyond Earth's skies. What began as one empire's attempt to crush a small species had become something else entirely. Across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Whispers of humans in marketplaces on distant worlds. Merchants spoke in hushed tones of battles where human fleets had torn apart ships 10 times their size, in shadowed taverns on forgotten moons. Smugglers told stories of soldiers who fought even after being mortally wounded, dragging enemies down with them. In the grand halls of other empires, rulers frowned as reports came in, reports they wished to ignore, but could not. Fear was spreading. The alien empire that had once mocked humanity now found itself bleeding. Fleets that had conquered countless civilizations were being lost in battles against an enemy they had believed beneath them. Their commanders no longer laughed. Their eyes showed doubt. Their voices carried unease. They began to ask questions they had never asked before. How could humans endure so much pain? How could they keep fighting when their losses should have broken them? Why did every death only seem to make them stronger? Other species remembered their own histories with humanity. Small encounters, trade, even conflict. Many had once dismissed humans as reckless dreamers, fragile bodies with too much curiosity. But now, those same species began to see the truth. Curiosity was not weakness. Recklessness was not failure. Together, they were the weapons of a predator that refused to die. The broadcasts of the human envoy's words played again and again, carried by rumor, by spies, by desperate voices seeking answers. You want war, then you've chosen death. To the galaxy, those words no longer sounded like arrogance. They sounded like prophecy. On alien worlds, civilians watched in silence as news screens showed their once invincible fleets burning in human skies. Some wept, others whispered that perhaps the war was cursed. Children asked their parents why the humans were not afraid. Parents had no answers, and in the shadows of those worlds, some began to hope. Not everyone had loved the empire that ruled. Some had longed for freedom, but fear of its armies had chained them. Now they watched humanity fight and wondered if the empire could be broken. If humans could bleed it, maybe others could finish the task. But fear was the stronger tide. In the war councils of the alien empire, voices rose in panic. "We must crush them quickly," one commander said, his claws trembling. "If this continues, others will rise against us. They will see our weakness." Another shook his head. "Crushing them is no longer simple. They fight like nothing we have faced. They turn every trap against us, every weakness into a weapon." Arguments filled the chamber. Some demanded more ships. Some demanded retreat. None could agree, and over all of them hung the same unspoken truth. Humanity had changed the rules of war. Meanwhile, on Earth, the fires of resistance still burned. Soldiers returned from impossible battles carrying trophies from fallen alien ships. Engineers rebuilt weapons from enemy wreckage, turning alien technology against its makers. Families who had once hidden in fear now painted the envoy's words on broken walls and rooftops so that even the skies would see their defiance in the stars. Human fleets pushed outward, chasing enemies into regions they had once called safe. Ambushes struck like storms in the night. Alien captains began to dread even silence, because silence often meant a human trap was waiting. Whispers grew louder still. On neutral worlds, leaders spoke carefully, weighing their futures. Some considered alliances with humans, others feared what it might mean. But all of them understood one thing: humanity was no longer a minor species. Humanity was now a name spoken with respect, and with fear. The alien empire tried to silence the rumors. They punished those who spoke of human victories. They spread lies, claiming humanity's fleets were already broken, claiming Earth was nearly lost. But lies are fragile things, and the truth of fire cannot be hidden when the sky itself is burning. One by one, other species began to believe the stories. They believed because they wanted to. They believed because the empire had ruled too long, with too much cruelty. Humanity became more than an enemy. Humanity became a symbol. The galaxy began to look at Earth not with pity, but with caution. And the alien commanders, once so certain, now lay awake in the dark of their ships, hearing the words of the envoy echo in their thoughts. "You want war? Then you've chosen death." Those words had begun as a warning. Now they were a shadow, stretching across the stars, and the shadow was only growing. The galaxy had changed. The war that was supposed to be quick and easy had stretched into something unthinkable. The alien empire had lost fleets, soldiers, and pride. Its name no longer carried the same terror. Whispers of defeat spread faster than orders, and at the heart of it all stood the species they had once called weak, humanity. Across Earth the fires still burned, but the people stood unbroken. Children who had hidden in basements now played in the rubble with toy ships carved from enemy wreckage. Soldiers carried banners painted with words that echoed across the stars. "You want war? Then you've chosen death." In orbit, the sky was littered with the ruins of both fleets. Human ships drifted among the wreckage, patched and scarred, but alive. Engineers worked without sleep, rebuilding engines, welding armor, turning every broken piece into another weapon. What the enemy destroyed, humanity reforged. Far beyond. In the Empire's Grand Council chamber, the rulers gathered once more. Their voices no longer roared with arrogance. They were sharp, nervous, desperate. Some demanded peace, others demanded annihilation. But all of them carried the same weight in their hearts: fear. And then, the human envoy returned. He stood alone. Again, a single figure surrounded by empires. He carried no weapon, no guards, only the fire in his voice. The aliens looked at him as if staring at a storm given flesh. His eyes were calm, but his words cut like blades. "You wanted war," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "and you believed it would end us, but look at your fleet. Look at your worlds trembling. You did not choose conquest. You chose death for your soldiers, for your pride, and for every empire that thought humanity was prey." Silence fell, heavy and crushing. The aliens shifted uneasily, their scales, wings, and shells glinting in the dim light. No one dared laugh this time. No one dared call his words empty. They had seen the truth with their own eyes. The envoy stepped forward. "We do not fight for glory. We do not fight for conquest. We fight because you left us no choice. And when humanity fights, we fight until the void itself fears our name." His voice grew louder, carrying into the hearts of every ruler present. "Understand this. If you continue this war, if you dare push further, we will not stop. We will rise from every ruin, rebuild from every loss, and fight with teeth and fire until there is nothing left of you but dust. That is what it means when humans say, "You've chosen death." The words struck harder than any weapon. Some of the rulers looked away, others clenched their claws or fists, hiding their fear. A few, deep in their hearts, already believed him, because humanity had shown the galaxy something it had never seen before: strength not from power, but from defiance. Victory not from numbers, but from survival. A will so fierce it turned despair into fire. The envoy's gaze swept across the chamber one last time. You wanted to know who humans are. Now you do. Remember this moment. Remember it when your children ask why the stars whisper our name. Remember it when your fleets tremble at the thought of Earth. We are humanity, and we are the death you chose. When he turned and walked away, no one stopped him. No one dared. His footsteps echoed through the chamber like the toll of a bell, marking the end of arrogance and the beginning of fear. Outside, the galaxy waited. Rumors spread faster than light. Species that had once bowed to the Empire now dreamed of freedom. Soldiers who had once laughed at humans now spoke their names with dread. And in the silence of space, even the stars seemed to hold their breath. On Earth the people lifted their eyes to the skies, still scarred by war. They were tired, broken, and mourning their dead. Yet in every heart there was pride. They had not only survived, they had taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The envoy's words became legend, repeated on every world, carried by every whisper. You want war? Then you've chosen death. And so the story of humanity spread, not as prey, not as weakness, but as warning. The galaxy would never be the same again.